Chris Allard with ONTrack Weekly. I'm driver number 76 Bone Stock from Sunset Speedway. I'd like to take this time to thank my sponsors, Juniors Haulage, East King Trucking, Technicore, Fast Car Audio, Nicky's Tire, and Auto Trimmaberry. Enjoy the show, gentlemen.
Tonight by just extending my best wishes. For those that don't know, there was a flight coming in from Delta at Pearson International that has crashed and flipped upside down, and about 15 people are hurt, a couple critical. And so before we kind of go on with the rest of the show, I just want to make sure that I put that out there, that my wishes are out there for them and whoever's involved. Thank you to Chris Allard for that intro, and welcome back for another week here on ONTrack Weekly. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we are fired up this week, as we should be, because racing has started officially in the NASCAR season. Top three divisions and ARCA getting their stuff sorted out at Daytona 500 weekend at the International Speedway, of course, being impacted by rain. It wouldn't be the 500 if it wasn't. And a lot of stuff to come out of the weekend. This was our first opportunity to see a couple of Ontario boys get their opportunity in ARCA. Unfortunately, only one of those of the two young names coming in got their opportunity, and it didn't last very long. We'll get into that. We'll talk about a name returning to the Dayco Superstocks and the Delaware Speedway Superstocks. Ryan Dyson and JRD Motorsports are getting close to revealing their full 2025 Superstock scheme. We'll get into the entire weekend, but we'll talk first about ARCA, and then we'll continue to talk about plans for Motorama. I am Cam K. I'm your host here on G-Force TV. I really want to thank you for coming and being a part of the show tonight on this family day. Very nice to have a 3-day weekend, and we don't get a ton of time off from work, so very nice to have everybody in and being a part of the show. Hopefully not buried too much in snow. The weekend as a whole, it's always exciting getting to welcome another racing season in, and really happy to see that we had some Ontario content. A lot of people down there this weekend. Lots of people in Daytona, in New Smyrna. We had people from OSS down there crewing on Norm Benning's car, Tim Tolton and Nate Greenaway, and then Jason Vale from the Full Throttle Motor Speedway Thunder Truck Division. So really cool stuff. You had Chase Pinsino and Kyle Steckley going to make their debuts. And then the rain came. And with the rain, that meant Chase Pinsino would not get to start the race. An absolute bummer. But he, at the end of the day, he came away with a pretty good budget night for him. And unfortunately, everybody else, it seemed like at Daytona, walked away with a lot of bills to pay to fix their cars for the rest of the year. We're going to get into ARCA as a whole. There's a lot on my mind about this entire weekend. ARCA's been something that I have a love-hate relationship with. And, we typically try to focus mostly on the Ontario side of things. And there's a tie-in to all of that. We'll get to that afterwards. But we did get some announcements in the last week. Really exciting, actually, announcements, which is great to see. And I think it's nice to see the confirmation that we're going to see a familiar face back. I mean, let's be honest, that's back where he belongs. So let's take a quick look at this post here and confirm it all for everybody. How about this? Carson Egge is returning once again to the Dayco Superstocks, and of course, he's back at Delaware Speedway. He's going to be at Motorama. They've got a brand new look for his number 93 car. They're going to be at Motorama, specifically in the United Racing Series booth. So definitely great to see, and this is what we need. We need more guys that come back every single year and participate in these traveling divisions, especially the Dayco Superstocks. He is right now the third confirmed name. Expect to see a couple more names being added there. We really do need people to be a part of these divisions touring across, and Carson has become, I'd argue, Carson's probably up there as one of the best Superstock racers in the province. I think he probably is right up there in probably the top three, I would say, right now. Carson has continuously proved that it is not a one season fluke. He has been consistently up front and a part of things, and exciting to see what that new look will be on the number 93 Superstock this year. And I'm excited to see who's going to join him. Typically, the battles between him and we've seen Trevor Culver out at Delaware Speedway, Lane Zardo, Sean Chenoweth, those have been absolutely amazing. I'm hoping we get to see Sean Chenoweth again in the Superstocks, at least for Dayco, because what I really like is those three. Trevor wasn't in the Daycos last year, but maybe he'll be back this year. Who knows? So we'll definitely put it out there as great news for Carson Egge returning, and that's always a part of the off-season fun for me is getting to see who's coming back, who isn't coming back. We do have some people that are not, and unfortunately, we will have a change out at Peterborough Speedway in their bone stock division as a former champion and a longtime competitor in that division. Now, one of the things that you got to see, a lot of places, people seem to move divisions quite often. Routinely want to move up and through the divisions, but I'm going to put a call out to Sean Kennedy, who lost championship by 1 point this year as last year's champion in the bone stock division. As he announced yesterday that after 10 years he is going to step away from bone stock racing to focus on other things. Now, whether that means a different division or not racing at all next year, that's obviously a tough call either way. When you've been a staple in the division at that track, and good for him, and good to see that he made a point and said that he can't say this is going to be forever. It's just for right now. And Unfortunately, this is going to be something that we'll probably see a bit more of with the uncertainty around funding for a lot of people. His decision could have been funding related, or could just be a time in life that they're trying to focus on something else and taking a bit of a break. And one thing that people have to remember is racing is an absolute grind. It's a year-long sport, and it's something that takes a lot of commitment, a lot of money, a lot of time away from family. Even if it's local, it is still a lot of commitment, a lot of time and focus elsewhere. So good on Sean Kennedy to make that announcement and focus on moving in a different direction for right now. Give the opportunities out there. We'll see some more faces back in there in that division regardless. I mean, I'd say like if Tegan Stanley is going to be there this year, we don't know 100% what Tegan's doing, but I would say he would be a pretty good shoe-in for a potential run for the championship again. I think you'll see Angelo Novus in pretty good contention to possibly retain. But somebody else like Alex Dallaire, who last year I thought really showcased a lot in that bone stock division with those glimpses. And that's all you need to see is glimpses of future success. And they've got a couple other names, Callie Dearmer, Chad Massioli, and Paige Stevenson, who are all coming back for their second season. You're going to have Chase Stevenson making his it's division debut this year. So whether or not that will add some new levels of competition at the front, I expect to see those guys maybe towards the back. See Matt McMartin, he'll be returning. I could see maybe potential to jump up for him. And then you got some other names like John Bates and Samuel Arnott. The Malushas typically split it between the two in the 72. And then the big question mark for me is going to be the Corey Horn team. They got Wayne Dewey coming on. He'll have his first season in the number 99. Johnny McIntyre is going to take over Corey Horn's 09 car. Very strong. Last year was Johnny McIntyre, so we'll see how he does this year in that division as well. In consistency for running the same division year after year after year and consistently putting on fantastic shows. He got back into victory lane last year, got his very first, I believe it was his very first in the Dayco Superstock. He's won at Delaware before, but finally got that Dayco Superstock win. Ryan Dyson. If you don't know Ryan Dyson and the JRD Motorsports team, they are huge on social media. They do a great job, have a great big following. They've celebrated 1,000 followers. They also have a YouTube channel which showcases, and they do a great job showcasing their stuff throughout the season. This is a preview. They're showing the behind the scenes of applying the decals and to their new look for 2025. And routinely give you behind the scenes looks at how this team operates, race weekends, interviews with the driver, Ryan Dyson. And this is just an effort to put out, honestly, the best looking race car. For me, I can't deny I love this car. I think the one thing that they're really good with is placements for their decals. They've got golden trim on this car to go with their Bingo Country logo. The full reveal is not, I believe, on this actual video. It's showing glimpses, but not the full thing. So it's getting close, absolutely. But a really good job in the layout and how beautiful this car looks. There's Ryan himself. So give a call to JRD Motorsports. Subscribe to them on YouTube. They're right. You just take this subscribe button right there, and just like they say on the screen, and you can definitely do that and get yourself some more racing content from Ontario, which is great. I mean, good job to JRD Motorsports. They do a fantastic job, especially with this type of content that we need in Ontario. for our racers. Absolutely. It's extremely important to do so. And I'm really happy to see that they're continuing to grow their channel. Ryan's done a fantastic job getting partners on his number 28 Super Stock, and they've done a fantastic job over the years, continuously bringing more people and more viewers in. So congratulations to them. And I guess now it's time that we get into the Ride the Chili's Dente 200. I've gone into ARCA for the last couple of seasons with the mindset of this is going to be a crap race. Now, for those that don't know me, I've actually been watching racing as far back as 2002 in terms of stock cars. Indy cars came before that. And I got into ARCA in 2003. Speed Channel was the main reason for that. Speed provided access to ASA, to dirt racing, the Lucas Oil off-road series, the core trucks. They provided, again, ARCA Remax racing on the regular. Hell, it's where I first saw CASCAR, actually, was on Speed Channel. And I need to put it bluntly, the series is crap. If we're looking at any other development series, okay, it's full of drivers that will not make it. That's the truth. The main division of ARCA has been split. You have the East and the West still, which was formerly two different divisions. They weren't part of ARCA originally. That used to be known as the K&N divisions. They have been struggling for years. ARCA has an identity crisis right now. It's been a series that was very similar to the truck series. The early 2000s, ARCA still had the issues. It still did. But what it's missing right now, to me, and I think a lot of others, it needs that veteran presence. Because a lot of people are coming into this division that are young, that have a lot of money, and don't necessarily have the racing skills that they should. And while ARCA has been going to Daytona for years, it almost feels that every year we are doing the same thing. We're talking about bad wrecks from drivers. This was probably the worst racing I have seen in a division in years. And the main reason for that is we did not make halfway in the race. When we made it to 50 laps, half the field was gone. Now, if a race has a wreck that takes out half the field early on, that happens. That's not what happened here. These were all individual wrecks, separate wrecks with multiple cars. I understand that people want to bash drivers that make mistakes, that routinely make mistakes. And while I understand, and listen, I've done that as well, I routinely have issues where I have a problem with a racer because of how they act on or off the racetrack. This can't stand. you're going to get someone seriously hurt. And they almost did it this week. Now, Craig Bracken, I don't know much about. I know he works for the company that creates the next-gen chassis. But he was injured in this wreck. Now, it wasn't a serious injury. He was banged up for sure and was released. There needs to be a system in place. Either a vetting program or better requirements, or maybe let's make sure that we have a practice before our cars and our drivers go out on the racetrack. Because this was not it. This solution was not it. Now, if I'm not mistaken, ARCA used to run when Daytona had the Clash the week before the 500, they would run at Daytona that weekend. I am more on board with that because there doesn't seem to be enough time scheduled for the ARCA racers. I don't know how that is, but we cannot have the millions and millions and millions of dollars of equipment being destroyed in 4 divisions. And what I get frustrated about, and this is the reason why I get frustrated about it, is because I have the opportunity, and I'm lucky enough to chat with racers from junior late models all the way up to pro late models in NASCAR Canada, here in Ontario, here in Canada. And what they would give for a fraction of the budget that these racers get to go and play at Daytona. It is embarrassing that that level of racing is considered higher than what we have here. That NASCAR Canada is thought of as under this. That it's ARCA, it's on the same level. Okay. What we saw is a lot of inexperience, people that don't know how to draft, they don't know how to race, and ultimately a system that's not working right. And this is a major issue in racing right now. It's if you have money, you buy a car and you race. I've had some suggestions from people saying, okay, they need to race at another track before. Absolutely agree with that. But my thought is FIA, if I'm not mistaken, FIA has, for Formula One fans, FIA has a situation where if you are involved in so many issues on track, you are given penalty points and your license can be revoked and you have to sit for a race. We've seen it in NASCAR's Cup Series with Bubba Wallace, with Chase Elliott, where you right hook somebody and they sit you for a race. I feel as if ARCA doesn't seem to be on that level where they're not making those calls. So my suggestion would be that if somebody is involved in multiple wrecks throughout the year, sorry, you guys can see Chester over here. I don't know what's going on with him today. He's been very mouthy. And they need to look at something where repeat offenders, if they're continuously wrecking cars, and not in a little way, like they're destroying race cars, that something needs to happen. Some sort of penalty, sit for a week. It is dangerous. And unfortunately, we're at a place where when you have drivers that are making the same mistakes, that are wrecking, and then you have other drivers coming into this wreck that are going full speed because they're not familiar. It's not just the fact that you're plate racing, but it's also the reaction time. It's the awareness. There's drivers that have been in this division that have gone to, and I have not seen them finish a Daytona race ever because they wreck every single time. Is it always their fault? No. but a lot of the times it is. And what type of example are we setting here? Now, we had a guy like Kyle Steckley who got no time on the racetrack. You had practice, and you had the test, and then you had the race. Well, there was no practice. Well, they had the practice, but the qualifying was rained out. So now all of a sudden, you have the field starting by owner points, which doesn't mean you're putting the fast cars at the front of the field. And as we've seen in ARCA, they tend to have really, really, really slow cars. And then you have really, really fast cars. But the amount of bumping, the amount of inexperience, I mean, if you have a driver that's been there for years that is still wrecking multiple times, they've got to look at that, because it is. I feel so bad for Kyle Steckley, for Garrett Mitchell. These guys had so much buzz from up here with Kyle, and then Cletus, of course, has tons of following. And Kyle got 11 laps. And I take offense when it's looked like that's our guy, right? I take offense when it is a move that I deem it's dangerous, and when I cannot defend anymore. And I'm at the point where I cannot defend. There's been moves where I've been able to say, hey, it's just they're learning, they're trying this, they're trying that. But after a certain amount of time, you've got to put them on the bench. And it has to come from within. It cannot be that we saw this for years. Chris Wright is a perfect example of this. Lawless Allen is a perfect example of this. You kick them out of the truck, and then they go to ARCA, and then they go to ARCA for a little bit, and they come right back up. And now Chris Wright is in the Xfinity Series. And what he did in the Xfinity Series race was inexcusable. And then have the gall to blame his sponsor or his spotter. We are going to have an accident that is going to kill somebody if we're not careful. It is seriously a problem that we're going and taking money rather than who has the talent. And unfortunately, that's the way the world's working right now. However, there needs to be a point where, as Terry says, the team has to say, no, we're done. Or the series has to. And I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point. We've seen it in the NASCAR Canada series where there's drivers that definitely don't belong out there, but they bought a ride. I put it out there that it felt like a bone stock race. Except we're not on a short track. We're on a plate track where the speeds are significantly higher, and the risk of injury and the risk of damage, severe damage to the cars, is a lot more. And how many drivers come in just to do that one race? Because it's Daytona. Years ago, now people might not remember, but years ago there was a division for this. And it was the Goodies Dash series. You want to talk about a clown circus, that was it. ARCA was the level up. Well, now we're at the point where, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but somebody had just posted what it would look like if we posted the real, like, tracks with their real, like, names for the races. And I mean, we've seen it as high up as Formula One. Lance Stroll. You cannot convince me that Lance Stroll belongs in Formula One. Same with Nikita Mazepin. Same with Nicholas Latifi. You've got people getting where they are because they are signing the biggest checks. And it's a sign of a bigger problem, right? We've got it in Ontario racing where people jump from one division to like 3 divisions higher. What I think they're missing in ARCA right now is a Frank Kimmel, is an Andy Belmont, and Andy Hillenberg. To me, Jason White proves to be a veteran that doesn't tear crap up and does a great job. If I'm ARCA, I'm looking for a guy like that. You know, they don't have people that are interested anymore in staying in the ARCA divisions. All you have is the young kids coming in. I would have loved to see Isabella Robusto finish that race, because she's a girl that I think actually has a ton of talent and has a great future in the Venturini pipeline. But is this going to be another Natalie Decker situation? It's turning that way with one of those other racers. And I feel bad. I do. You know, she wants to put her best effort in. But at the end of the day, something has to change. And not just for the fact of the other competitors. It's not fair to them. But there's also a serious issue if every couple of weeks when you race, you're destroying a car. It's not good for your health, first off. Risk of concussions. And the psyche. You know, and what I'm going to go out and say that I contributed to, and I'm ashamed of it, is on social media. At the end of the day, the racer makes the call. And the racer is the one that will decide whether or not they continue. But I remember distinctly back to Ernie Irvan being sat down and them having a giant meeting with Rusty Wallace saying to his fellow competitors, you know, I don't want to see one of my friends killed. And we don't. There should be strict penalties for certain actions, depending on what type of action is taken, will result in a change. And I think for the immediate future, they might need to just stop going to Daytona. I understand it is the biggest attraction there, but go back to New Smyrna. Do that instead. We're seeing it on all levels here. How many millions of dollars did we lose this weekend alone in race cars? From the 500 to the Xfinity Series to the Truck Series to ARCA. Like, just, it blows my mind when I think about how many racers here would take a third, a quarter, a 16th of the budget that they give to racing down south. The sponsorship. The people. The cars. The purse. The TV coverage. And they're not helping their cause by having a product like they did. it is. I haven't seen a lot of cars that have been destroyed as bad as they have been this week. But it starts at the top. Those Cup Series guys have to race clean. Those Xfinity drivers have to race clean. And again, what's happened is that we've had a period of drivers that they don't do the opposite. Now, we have it this year, and I'm happy about this. Daniel Hemrick and Harrison Burton, Chandler Smith, options straight up, so they went back to the Xfinity and the Truck Series. And that's what you need. Eventually, the Truck Series is going to lose Matt Crafton, Grant Enfinger, Ben Rhodes. The veterans will be gone. And you need new veterans to step in because that's what we've seen works. You got veterans that help chauffeur in the young talent. And when they step over the lines, the veterans tell them what needs to be told. ARCA, on the other hand, doesn't seem to have anybody. And while you have a dominant team, not all those drivers have somebody that they can lean on. It's a tough pill to swallow when you see a guy like Kyle Steckley who's so excited to go down there not get 15 laps. That budget that they gave him, that APC invested, along with a lot of other partners, lasted 11 laps. I would be furious. And that's where it comes down to, where's the anger? Because if I'm down there and I was a competitor, I would be asking whoever was in charge, what are you guys going to do about this? Because this is becoming a problem. This has been a problem. This is still a problem. And this is still something that we need to have happen in Ontario as well. I think racers, for the most part, here, pretty good. Pretty good. I think you'll have a couple that make dumb moves, but people deal with it right away. I mean, we saw it last year a couple of times at some of the tracks we went to, and the coolest thing about all of that was they dealt with it right away. Parked them right away. Obviously, in this case, you can't really park the whole field. But there used to be, settle down warnings. And if there's going to be penalties for aggressive driving or of the sort, causing an incident, one of the things that was pointed out was that a driver had a flat tire. Well, if you have a flat tire or a tire going down and you feel it, probably best to get off the racetrack. But one thing I will say that does not belong is the social media bashing. I mean, and I'm guilty of it myself, and I got rid of those. we are allowed to have emotion, we're allowed to feel that, but people went out of their way to personally post on someone's personal page or their fan page. And I get that. I get people being upset. I mean, I get heat all the time for being a Bubble fan. It happens all the time. And people don't bother to ask, say, well, why do you like him? Or it, you know, or like what? How long have you been following? And I don't know. I think that they've got to do something like what you see with Formula One. They have a panel, and their stewards are on it. And Scott says you can't issue driving penalties after the fact and it has to happen right away, which is what they do there. At those top tiers, they have telemetrics and video to see. Absolutely true. And I know in one of those cases, the driver, in this case, had smoke coming off the car. It could have been prevented. Now, Daytona as a whole, for me, is hit and miss. Is it what it used to be? Unfortunately, it isn't. The stage racing and the overtimes, all it does is warrant pileups and wrecks. And all it makes me do is cringe about all the money going down the toilet. When, really, let's be honest, we need as much funding and money in the sport as possible, and all we're doing is finding ways to shut teams down. It is baffling to me that we are still talking about this all these years later. Fix the problem. Ryan Preece is lucky as hell that he wasn't injured again. And they say it time and time again. Oh, we paved the grass because that caused the car to flip. Cars don't flip if they're going straight. They flip when they've been spun or turned. Well, we saw, sure as hell, this car goes overboard when it's going straight. How do we need any more evidence about the car? We're going backwards here. And this whole part of my love for motorsports is coming out of fear that we are going to have something so terrible happen. We almost had it happen with Ryan Newman. We were so very close with Ryan Newman. And it hasn't changed a thing. If we were really concerned after what happened with Ryan Newman, there would have been serious changes made, and there hasn't been. Especially in a lower division where you have drivers that don't have 15 years of plate racing experience. Hell, they might not even have 15 years of racing experience. When a problem has been brought to the surface, you need to fix it. And all we're doing here is continuing to encourage people to go out and wreck race cars for millions of dollars without any repercussions. It irks me to no end that we have this happening in what is supposed to be the best divisions, the highest level of stock car racing in the world. You have to go back to preseason testing for at least ARCA. They do that one test. Give them more time. And not just for single car runs, for drafting practice. I know they're trying to limit the costs, but at what cost is a driver's life? Because right now, it doesn't seem like they care enough. I hope that there will be some changes after this race, because you cannot excuse, we cannot excuse the fact that we're seeing routinely people come up and make the same mistakes year and year and year after year. And unfortunately, yeah, with that speed you're fighting the aero hard stop, we can pull downforce out of them. They're still going to blow over with the slab sides that the speedway cars have. The under tray is not causing it. I didn't say the under tray is causing it. They're just, we've seen this time and time again. There needs to be something fixed. Let's look at what they didn't want Wallace to run. Yeah. Now Mike Wallace has said some stuff that's absolutely horrible. I don't agree with anything that he's said. And he's acted like a real dink lately. But you can't deny that Mike Wallace knows how to plate race. He's one of the best plate racers out there. And they did not let him race because he hasn't raced that car. Okay, he hadn't raced that car and raced in about 10 years. Well, can I just point out that Elio Castroneves had not driven these cars and he got to race in the Daytona 500? How does that make any sense? Is it because it's Elio Castroneves? Yeah, probably. On a brighter side, there's lots of room for improvement here. And I think the people in charge will probably make some sort of improvement. I would hope. Yeah. As Scott said, he got to wreck in every division this week. Elio did. And a lot of it was not his own doing. I'm looking forward to March 7th to 9th. One of the best experiences of my life, year after year after year, is getting to meet the racing community at Motorama. That's going to be held at the International Center March 7th to 9th from 10 to 8 p.m. on the Saturday and on the Friday. Saturday. And on the Sunday, 10 to 5. Now, bear in mind, 10 to 5 is daylight savings, first off, so be prepared. And typically, if you're going to be there, try to get there early. A lot of people start to wind down before that 5 o'clock. I saw a lot of people coming in close to like 4 or 5 o'clock, even 3 o'clock on the Sunday. Majority of people are in Friday, Saturday. Students Day, presented by WD-40, is going to be back this year. We have a lot of high school students there. And I love the idea. Bring the younger generations in. As of right now, we have a media booth that will have stickers and scuffs. We're going to have some of our racers there signing autographs throughout the day, or periods throughout each day. Right now, Sunday is pretty quiet, but Saturday we've got them, and the Friday. I'm not particularly a fan of, just because I don't like dealing with high school kids, but I will say they were very enthusiastic last year. A lot of those kids, aside from the one group that decided to try and interrupt an interview I had with Ollie Ferguson, but they met his dad, so that was great. Rob gave him a good talking to about that, and but the Friday, like I said, it has its ips and flows, but the Saturday again is the biggest and the best in my opinion in terms of getting people out there. The boys from I'm gonna forget the name of the show now. Yeah. Oh my god. It's Mike Hall and Avery from Rust Valley. Thank you. I kept trying to like, it's not Rust Valley Restoration, is it? It's Rust Valley Restorers or something. Yeah, Rust Valley. They'll be there once again this year. Saturday, Sunday. Chip Foose will be there as well. Normally, you've got some NASCAR Canada guys that'll stick around. I have no idea who is going to be there this year. Normally, I would expect to see Larry Jackson there, Sam Fellows. APC, typically you'll see APC Racer, Dayco Superstock. We already know it's going to be Carson Nagy, Oscar Hot Rods, Modifieds typically there. A representation from most of the tracks in Ontario, not all of them. And of course, you've got, you're right, Candig was, I think, as well as Scott. Media-wise, you'll have myself representing Stickers and Scuffs. You'll have Scott is going to be there, and Ryan from Turn 3. You have Jomo from Jomo Media, Brandon Feeney from the Feeney Call, Rich Schwarzenberg from Only Fours, and you'll also have the boys from the Wide World of Motorsports. They will all be there. They're going to be there Saturday, Sunday, though. Ryan Cowan's there Friday. Scott's there all weekend. I'm there all weekend. Jomo's there all weekend. I don't know about Feeney yet, what he's doing. But so we'll be there. Interviews are going to be available from all of us, I believe. And there will be stage time as well. Our stage time is booked. There will be also the Night of Champions presented by Fast Eddie. That is taking place on the Saturday, celebrating all the track champions and tour champions from across Ontario. Really good time. Normally, there's, I believe the winners, they get a little plaque, photos, take part of a group photo. We'll be there. If you have Stickers and Scuffs decals that you need to pick up, I'm there for that. I expect that we will see, yes, Terry Dewey mentions, you got the Team 3 Racing, Team 3 at Hackinson Racing car at the Rev TV booth at the Canadian Auto Show, and DJ Kennington's car is at the Auto Show as well. But a good discussion here tonight, and one that I think we're definitely worthy of continuing. It is, it's just, I really don't want to see people tearing up race cars. I really don't want to see somebody get hurt. We've seen it, and I've seen it last year. And there was a couple of racers that we dealt with that were S&S racers that got hurt last year. And I'll tell you, it is not a good feeling to see a driver that is so involved in motorsports not be able to do their thing and potentially have their life changed. And you have to remember, a lot of these ARCA drivers, they are not full-time racers. And we don't want to see people suffer for doing the thing that we love so very, very much. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, GeForce TV, sitting at, again, 19,300 subscribers. We are 700 away from getting to 20,000 subscribers here on YouTube. What you get, Race Rivals Race Chat with Clinton Jeffrey and Adam Ross. You get myself for ONTrack Weekly on Mondays. You have weekly racing at Ohsweken Speedway and the Little O. And then, of course, this is the team that puts together the Autumn Colors Classic broadcast, which you saw last year on a tape delay, yes, but we put together all of that. Really exciting stuff for this year. We're really excited because the racing season is, while still we're not there yet, it's starting to heat up. We did get Great Lakes Legends announcing today that their registration is set and it's open. Ontario Sportsman Series has their registration now open. So we're going to start to get names rolling in as they start announcing their plans. We already know, we mentioned at the top of the show, Carson Nagy out there. I just want to give a call out to Kyle Stackley for doing something that not a lot of guys get to do from Ontario and not a lot of young kids get to do. And he's got a couple more races that he'll get to in ARCA this year. And hopefully he'll get to show them what he's made of this time around. And he'll do it with Cletus. And we're excited about this. Excited to see what Kyle Stackley can do. And hopefully Chase Spence Snow as well. I mean, I don't really know where he's set for racing this year, if he's back on ASA. But we're excited to see what the future has for our Ontario racers. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. That really does help with everything here. If you haven't already, so head over to Stickers and Scuffs as well. Subscribe to that channel. We're going to have Paul Pepper out on the program this week. Superstock racer from Ontario. Typically runs Daco Superstocks. Runs also at Sunset Speedway. Been there for a while, a couple years. We're excited. So have yourselves a great night. Great week, everybody. Racing is back. So we'll look forward to more of it here on ONTrack Weekly.